Bonus round. But we don't know the exact question because it's buried somewhere.
And now, if y'all care, which I know you do, you're gonna go back there and you're gonna go find it but the question was on a blown head gasket. Okay, the blown head gasket is the result. Very important. And this is very, very important when you go to a garage and you're going to take your car into a garage, unless a lot of you want to do this yourselves, but more than likely you're going to take it to a garage. Okay? The very important question to ask is what caused it?
Right.
And if they say it had a blown head gasket, then take your car somewhere else.
Right.
And unfortunately, that means that you're going to take your car over and over again to different shops and you're going to get the same answer. This is what everybody does. The blown head gasket is the result of an overheating problem.
Yep.
The best way that I explain this to people, and they go like, bing, wow. I said, your house is on fire. The firemen come out there and they're putting your house on fire. And all of a sudden, here comes the contractor and he's putting out the new studs to fix the house is on fire. So the mechanic takes it, puts another head gasket on it and puts it back on. The house is still on fire. You got you got an electrical box that's sparking, but they're already reframing your house. What are you doing?
And not solving the root cause.
Yes.
And this is something that you talked to me about when we did Kelly's blown head gasket on her Jeep. It was just like, hey, make sure that you check the thermostat, make sure that you check the radiator. And that actually, so I bought my Supra with the blown head gasket. That's why I got it so cheap. And the thermostat was old and stuck, and the radiator was clogged. And also the car had a bunch of modifications done, go fast parts just bolted onto it without any supporting modifications done. So there was a lot going on that was wrong with mine well before I got it, and thankfully I solved those problems before getting here. But
most of the time, it's an $8 part. It's never should I say never? It's never. It's never the head gasket. Chevy, Ford, Chrysler, Toyota, Honda, Mercedes, they've been doing aluminum heads. Everybody fought aluminum head because it's so soft. It doesn't hold a head gasket. Bullshit. Excuse me.
I'll bleep
it. Why are the street auto guys all running aluminum heads? Why are they doing 30, 40 pounds of boost at 12.5 to 1 compression? It is not because of that. It is perfectly fine. The manufacturers would not have done this if it didn't work. It does work. The problem is 210 degrees is where all the horsepower is made. Mm-hmm. All the cars now, fuel injector, everything else, they're going to 210, 215, 220. That's all fine. It makes a lot of horsepower because of the cylinder heat. We'll go into all the efficiencies and everything later. But at that realm of you're there, the slightest thing that takes it above that, the head gasket is the weakest link.
Right.
It's the weakest link, but it's not that's not what failed. No, I take it back. That is what failed. That's not what caused it.
Right.
That's not what caused it.
I know, I need to address this because I know there are going to be some 7M people out there that know that there actually was a problem from the factory on these. The head bolts were not torqued to what they should have been. If you have low miles, you can go back and retorque all the head bolts to the proper specification, and you likely, if you caught it early enough and you had it done right away, then sure. But once you get to this point and the cylinder head is warped and so on and so forth,
very good.
That may be
very good point. That's why you should say never.
Well, once again, that wasn't the head gasket though. That was a mistake.
Diesel on there's a bunch of diesel that you should put ARP head bolts in there, and it's because the factory bolt just can't handle the load. So there's all accepted rules, but in your Honda, in your Toyota, in your Nissan, in all of these, as soon as it got hot, that's the first thing that went. Because it's a sensitive area.
Yep.
But what caused this? Normally, thermostat is your number one cause. So a cheap little thermostat is the number one cause.
Yeah.
Also, the cooling fan didn't come on. A relay.
Yep.
A relay cooling fan. Here's another thing. Anytime
mechanical fans.
Yeah.
I get a lot of crap for that. I get a lot of crap for a lot of things.
So that's the thing. And so, okay, here's another thing: is cooling fans and temperature switches work on basically it's a spring. And it's a coolant sensor, and as it gets hot, the spring loses tension, becomes weak, and turns on the fan.
Right.
Okay.
Is that like not a rheostat?
It's like a rheostat, but it's not.
Like one, but yeah, it's like a word for it. It doesn't matter.
I almost said rheostat, but it's not a rheostat. But it's just basically it goes to ground. Because it gets hot, the spring loses tension, it makes contact, goes to ground, activates a relay or the computer, and the computer activates a relay, and then a fan comes on. Either one of those scenarios. Here's the thing. You fix the cylinder head. You put a head gasket on there. Do you think that temperature switch is accurate anymore? Not at all. And people go, well, I just put one. Yes, when you were having all those overheating problems, you started chasing problems, and then you went to replace this, and that, and it kept on overheating. Well, guess what? You may have fixed the problem, but you didn't now fix the result, which is the blown head gasket. So now you bring it into the shop, or you do a head gasket, you put it back on. That brand new switch you just bought, if you overheated it,
right,
it's not accurate.
Right, because you're gonna, and that's why they say also that if you ever overheat an engine, that there are so many other components you should replace. You should always replace the thermostat if you overheat an engine. You should always replace the temperature.
Sending
unit or
yes, the sending unit.
Right.
So don't rely on your gauge, especially on older cars, to be accurate anymore. If you overheated it, you've stretched that spring. It's no longer doing its thing on there. So it may still be opening and closing or turning on a thing. It's not accurate anymore. It's not. Now you're going to be real cool. Take your temperature sending unit, put it in boiling water, put an ohm meter on it, drop it into boiling water. That's also cool. If you
That's how he thinks you're cool. Is it? Well, your coolant temperature sensor.
You can fix stuff by replacing it. You can replace stuff. You can repair by replace.
And there's a lot of good replacers out there.
Yeah, and sometimes it's cheaper to repair by. You got to have the right mentality. Don't be down on yourself. If you're repairing by replace, you can pay a mechanic, which $100 an hour isn't bad. They worked. You worked your whole life doing this, and you don't realize all of the knowledge that it took to be this. And if you're a good mechanic, you'll fix it in an hour.
Right.
So you find a guy that only charging you $30 an hour, and he's awesome. 18 hours into it. And he's still working on it, screwing up your stuff because he didn't know what he was doing. So don't be timid to pay somebody what they know good money, because they'll do it quicker and they'll do it right. But only because you pay good money doesn't mean it's going to be done right. So
true that.
So repairing by replacement isn't necessarily a bad thing.
And sometimes it even makes more sense in a shop setting too, because it's like, hey, I can test this component. It's going to take an hour and a half to test it properly. Or, you know what? I can replace it and the part's only $30.
Exactly.
And then you get a part out of it too. And that knocks part of the diagnosis off for a cheaper price. So
exactly. Sometimes
it makes sense to replace rather than do all the work to diagnose.
Spend an hour to test something and spend 30 minutes to replace it.
Yeah.
Okay. In that particular instance, unless you're replacing a part that's $1,000.
Right. Yeah.
Then you test it. But small stuff. So there's nothing wrong with that. But if you, that's a question that somebody asked. It was a real good question. If you put the cylinder head back on, it's going to overheat. That's not maybe. If you didn't take care of the problem, it's going to overheat again. It is going to. But now you're going to mess up the head you just fixed because it overheated. Mm-hmm. So the blown head gasket is not the cause, it's the result.
Right.
So fix the overheating problem, or there's many shops put the head back on and send the car out to the customer, and then it comes back on a wrecker, and then now the head's messed up again. It has the same problem it had to begin with. It still has a leaky a heater core. It still has something. I know a lot of people that, well, I always add a gallon of water a week. Oh, I've always had to add water to it. I've been doing that for 6 months. I always add water. It is not a steam engine. No, you don't have to add water. If you have a coolant leak, fix the coolant leak.
Yeah.
And that's generally it's a coolant leak, it's electrolysis, but the main common thing is a thermostat. That's the thing. But if you don't fix it, if your mechanic doesn't tell you when you go over there and find out what's the problem, I had a blown head gasket. No. I know why I brought it in here, because I got a blown head gasket. What caused it?
Right.
Oh, the gasket went loose. Like we like to say, the gasket doesn't say, oh, it's Thursday afternoon, I'm going, I'm out of here. No, it's, so.
Right,
there you go.
right. And there are plenty of vehicles that have, 300,000 plus miles in the original engine, the original head gaskets. So, I mean.
Another thing, I think a lot of people that watch do like to do stuff themselves, or have done stuff themselves, or you got to put disclaimers, because, you do this all the time. But can you.
Don't try this at home?
Try this at home.
Oh.
Try this at home.
Ooh,
Can you fix a blown head gasket without pulling the head off the car? And everybody's gonna say no, and I'm gonna get so much haters and everything else. And yes, and yes. So here's an example. We fix it right all the time, but there's more than one way to fix something. Okay, the head gasket, you overheated it. You took it up to 230 degrees. Oh my God, the light came on. I saw it. I pulled it off. I got it towed home. Whatever. So now you've actually compromise the head gasket.
Right.
But it's not really blown like all out. You still got a little bit of compression, but you got a little bit of coolant either in the center, or you got compression in the radiator, but it's just leaking slightly. So yes, you got to pull it off and get it done. But what if you could fix it on the car? You could. How could you do it? Drain all of the water out of it.
Okay.
You shouldn't have water to begin with, electrolysis. Drain all the coolant out of it and have it completely done. Put water in it. Dump ceramic seal in it. There's Blue Devil. There's Ceramic Seal. There's
See, I was
Barsley.
going to ask because I've used
Is there a place for
I've
Barsley?
used Blue Devil before, and only twice, and both times it worked great, and those cars are still.
Yes, it's $50 for a thing or whatever the retail price is on it. It's not cheap, and it doesn't fix everything.
But you have to catch it really, really, really early.
Yes.
Like you can't have oil mixing with the coolant. Like it can't be at that stage. It has to be really, 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 really early.
That's the milkshake question. That's the milkshake question.
Oh yeah. I answered it in a comment, but.
So here's
we can address that.
Here's
too.
how you can fix it if it just started. If it just started, only overheat it once. Oh, I caught it. I put a thermostat in it now. I put a water pump in there. It's my Honda Civic. It's my Toyota, and I just now get some seepage that starts to bubble through the radiator and stuff. Okay, get the engine, drain everything, drain all the coolant out. Put some sealer in it. Barsley, Blue Devil, any brand in there. Good quality one. The Blue Devil's expensive, but it does work.
Yeah, it's the only one I've ever used.
And there's people who use it that says it doesn't work. Well, it ain't gonna put a gasket back where it's blown.
Yeah.
There's no gasket there. It ain't gonna make a gasket in a can.
Right, and you're not gonna be able to see what the head gasket's like until you take off the head, obviously. And most people don't catch it early enough.
No,
they don't catch it early enough to have that actually be effective.
Yeah. So, but a lot of times,
gotta really know.
well, a lot of times you're gonna take it to a shop that doesn't know what they're doing, and they're gonna go and mill your head and do all this and have more problems. Then you could have saved yourself a Saturday afternoon. In your garage, you did it yourself. How did you do it? You drain all the coolant out. You put some nice sealer in it, whatever brand you want. You bring that engine up to operating temperature. Get it up to 200 degrees, 210 degrees. Get it to the edge of right there where it's hot, where this happened. Right at the thing, guess what it did? It expanded. That's why the gasket started seeping.
Yep.
Right? Okay, we're going to get it to that level. We're going to get the radiator built up a lot of pressure. Be careful, it's a plastic radiator, everything. But we're going to build up, you can feel the hose has pressure in it. Mm-hmm. Then we're going to shut it off. We have the sealer in it already.
Yep.
And we're going to pull the spark plugs. Okay? You cannot get sealer into a combustion chamber or to a gasket when you have the...
I wasn't expecting him to say that.
the radiator only has 9 pounds of pressure on it. Maybe 12, 9, 8 pounds of pressure. The combustion chamber has over 120 psi, 140 psi, 120, even if you're low, right? So there ain't no way that Blue Devil is doing nothing besides sealing stuff that aren't leaking. How can it? The compression is pushing it out, and the Blue Devil cannot get in the head gasket area. So
well, I'll be darned.
Get it hot, let it expand. Let the Blue Devil pressure 12 pounds because you've got it really hot. Pull the spark plugs out. It's going to force now coolant, and we're not coolant, water, but sealer in the head gasket area. Because it's hot, it's expanded, and now we got pressure here and zero pressure here. All the spark plugs are off. Now we're forcing coolant into the head gasket area that's leaking. Let it get in the head gasket. Then retorque it. Then retorque it, and now you got sealer on both sides of the gasket. Because it actually pushed it through, and now you retorque it, and you're good to go. Go. As long as you didn't...
Never done it that way.
Yeah. As long as you didn't lose a head gasket, like I said, you got a blown area on the gasket.
Right.
But if you have a little bit of electrolysis that's leaking, I just did a Volvo, and the reason it was here is because the electrolysis ate through a spot and just lost coolant.
Yep.
So they were kept on losing coolant.
Yeah, I saw that one. Yeah.
So, but that one could have been fixed with this scenario.
Interesting.
Yeah. So if we haven't lost the gasket material, if it just started leaking, it's going to fix it. And it's going to be done, and you save your $1,000. So on a Saturday, you're going to do this, or Friday night beforehand, you get all your buds over, you're drinking beer, you're doing all of this. Then
don't drink and wrench.
Don't drink and wrench. Sorry, did I say that? We're going to edit. Oh, don't drink and wrench. You're drinking your Kool-Aid, and then you do this. Then in the morning,
the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, you're going to do
even better.
Get off the Kool-Aid. Okay, so in the morning, you're going to come back in the morning, and you're going to retorque the head again.
Okay, retorque the head again.
Retorque the head again.
Okay,
and then you're done.
There's a saying on some super forums, like the biggest problem with the 7M is the owner. And what you said kind of reminds me of that, because it's like there are people out there that want to do everything right, that want to take the head off, that want to take the engine out, want to take the head off, have it machined. But there's so many variables once you start having that human element. And a lot of times this less invasive way of just using Blue Devil can cause less harm.
Yes, because what do we do?
Earlier.
We straighten the head back up. We use the block to straighten the head back up.
Yeah.
It blew up. That's why I'm retorquing it. Gonna get back down. It's gonna put the right tension on the head gasket, and the cam's gonna spin fine. So I'm not saying that block sealer fixes everything, because it doesn't.
Right.
But
it wouldn't have fixed mine because I have the original head gasket and it was just destroyed.
Yes, if there's an area gone, it ain't gonna make it's not a gasket in a bottle.
Yeah.
It's not a mechanic in a can. But instead of
good thing I'd be out of a job.
Yeah. Instead of you doing it right, you take it to a garage. and then you end up with there's so much heartache that I do people that they can barely afford their vehicle. They can afford the vehicle, they go to work and everything else. Their car's in the shop, and then they get it back, and then a day or two later it's back in the shop again, and they're like, oh my God, I got a piece of junk car, and they can't afford another car, but yet because it's been in the shop all the time. Well, it's been in the shop all the time because of
someone wasn't addressing the root cause. Someone didn't know what they were doing.
One of our mutual friends, again, I'm not gonna say it, with a Honda, and every year the head's in here for a broken timing belt.
Because I heard it. The timing belt's too tight. Yeah.
And the mechanic wants to just grab on there and tighten the belt up real tight. And Hondas go forever. Hondas will go forever. If you see a Honda on the side of the road, it's out of gas. I mean, or the timing belt broken because you didn't do a timing belt. But that's it. There's no. You don't ever see a Honda on the side of the road.
Or the distributor's bad because the oil seal just blew.
Well, okay. So and that's the same. I mean, Hondas. I've told you this before. Hondas and Toyotas are my two favorite. We like Nissans as well, but the Honda Toyotas are really the two best. If you want the most rugged thing that you can abuse, Toyota. They're
Perfect.
Just real thick.
Good for me.
They're
thick.
They don't skim on the aluminum.
We saw that.
Yeah, it's like an industrial motor. I mean, it's really like an industrial motor. They're heavier than Hondas. If I was going to do a challenge and do a horsepower challenge, I mean not horsepower, a gas mileage challenge, I'd be in my Honda. But if I was going to do something that's going to go through an abuse of excessively overheating, I want to be in a Toyota. Toyota's going to weigh more. It's going to not get as good. And Toyota still get great gas mileage, but not as good as a Honda. But Honda is just. But I've never seen through all the years really a Honda head cracked. They'll be warped. They'll be all, but they don't. So they're lighter. It doesn't make them worse, but they're a little bit thinner head. But anyway, the two best Honda Toyotas. So.
Well, I tell people that all the time. I get that question all the time is, Faye, what sort of car should I buy? And I'm just like, just go out and get a Honda Accord or a Toyota Camry. And you know how many people take that advice? None.
You know what? They exactly.
The Camry isn't cool, okay? There's nothing cooler than a Camry.
I get the same thing, and they go, well, I want to look, and they drive up in a Ford Focus, or they drive up in a Kia, or they drive up. Don't get me wrong, Kias have come a long way, and they're really nice now. But they drive up in something else, and I said, why didn't you get your? He goes, well. The only Honda that I could afford was a 10-year-old, 15-year-old Honda. And I go,
do hold their value.
Yeah. Exactly, because they hold their value. You can buy a Honda or Toyota and drive the legs off of it, and when you sell it, you can still sell it. So everybody goes out there and goes look for cars, and they come back and they never have a Toyota or never have a Honda because they say I could have bought a 10-year-old Honda or I bought a 3-year-old Kia.
Yeah.
Well, it's true. Yeah. You're exactly right.
Hey, well, that's the only way I could afford my Toyota is buying one with a blown engine. Nah.
That's a good junkyard. Actually, a good place to buy a car.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, that's where I got my 4Runner.
Yeah, I mean they're
full apart.
Somebody else's problem is is your reward. Okay.
Cool. Bonus round.
Bonus
You're
round.
welcome.